Here we have a SAT math question. Okay, let's go with the information. Y equals to square root of x square positive b x positive c. In the given equation, b and c are constants and contains the points 2, 0 and 0, square root of 1 and 10. What is the greatest value of x that will cause y to be 0? So that is in the given equation, we have to plug in y equals to 0 and solve for the greatest value of x. But if I plug in y equals to 0, I cannot solve for x at present because now the equation contains the two unknown constants b and c. So our first work is to find the value of the two unknown constants b and c. So for that, we have to use the 2 points given over here. So that is the graph of the given equation contains the point 2, 0. That is the x-intercept because here the y-coordinate is 0. And this is y-intercept because the x-coordinate is 0 over here. Okay, so first what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in the first point, I mean the x-intercept 2, 0 into the given equation. So because the graph of the given equation contains this point. So whenever the graph of equation or function contains a point, we can plug in the point into the equation. So now let's plug in this x coordinate 2 for x over here and the y coordinate 0 for y over here. So let me do it. So then I'm getting 0 equals to square root of 2 square positive b times 2 positive c. Okay, now let's simplify this one. 0 is equal to square root of, so 2 square is 4, b times 2 is 2b positive c. Okay, now what we can do is to get rid of the square root on the right side, we can square both sides. Let me square both sides. When I do so, this square root and square root cancel out. So the value of 0 square is still 0. On the right side, we get 4 positive 2b positive c. Okay, now let me keep this equation as it is. Now I'm going to plug in the second point. That means the y-intercept into the given equation. So for that, I have to plug in the square root of 1 and 10, the y-coordinate square root of 1 and 10 for y over here. So when I do so, I'm getting square root of 1 and 10 equals to square root of, and for x, I have to plug in the x coordinate 0. Then I'm getting 0 square positive b times 0 positive c. Okay, now square root of 1 and 10 equals to, and this 0 square is 0, b times 0 is 0, and we have the square root of c on the right side. To get rid of the square root over here, I just square both sides. Let me finish. When I square both sides, the square root and square root cancel, the square root and square root cancel out. I'm getting 1 and 10 equals to c. Now I got the value of c. The value of c is 1 and 10. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in c equals to 1 and 10 into this equation to solve for b. Okay, let me do it. 0 is equal to 4 positive, 2b positive. So for this c, we can plug in 1 and 10. Okay, now let's solve for b in this equation. So 2b, when I combine this 4 and 1 and 10, I'm getting positive 1 and 14. Okay, to solve for b, I subtract 1 and 14 from both sides. When I do so, this positive 1 and 14, negative 1 and 14 will cancel out. Negative 1 and 14 equals to 2b. So let me write the same equation over here. That is negative 1 and 14 equals to 2b. Okay, let me divide both sides by 2. When I do so, this 2 will cancel out. And when I divide negative 1 and 14 by 2, I'm getting negative 57 equals to b. Okay, now I got the values of b and c. B equals to negative 57 and c equals to 1 and 10. Okay, now let me plug in these values, the value of b and the value of c into the given equation so that the equation will be complete. So we have y is equal to square root of x square negative 57x positive 1 and 10. I just plugged in negative 57 for b and c is 1 and 10. Okay, now our aim is to get the greatest value of x that will cause y to be 0. So that is the greatest value of x which makes y 0. So for that, what I need is I have to plug in y is equal to 0 and solve for x in this given equation. So let me plug in y is equal to 0. Then I'm getting 0 is equal to square root of x square negative 57x positive 1 and 10. Okay, to get rid of the square root on the right side, I just square both sides. When I do so, so I'm getting 0 square is equal to the stuff we have on the right side is square. So the square root and square root cancel out. I'm getting x square negative 57x positive 1 and 10. On the other side, 0 square is just 0. So it's a quadratic equation. So now we have to solve this quadratic equation. I think this quadratic equation can be solved by factoring. So whenever I want to solve a quadratic equation by factoring, first I look at the coefficient of x square. What is the coefficient of x square? So there is no number in front of x square. We have to assume there is a coefficient of x square 1. So in that case, I have to consider only the constant of 1 and 10 over here. So positive 1 and 10, let's take the constant of the given quadratic equation. I have to get two factors for this constant of positive 1 and 10, so that the two factors I'm getting for over here, I mean the product of the two factors I'm writing over here must be equals to positive 1 and 10, and when I add the two factors, it must be equal to the coefficient of x negative 57. So so that I have to get two factors for positive 1 and 10. I think negative 2 and negative 55 will work. When I multiply them, negative times negative will become positive. 2 times 55 is 1 and 10. When I add them, I'm getting, when I add negative 2 and negative 55, I'm getting negative 57, which is a coefficient of x. Okay, so how can we get the values of x from these two factors? It's very simple. I just have to change the sign over here, to get the two values of x. Then the first value of x will be, so opposite of this sign, that is positive 2. And the second value of x, again, I have to take opposite of this sign, that is positive 55. So I got two values of x when I plug in y is equal to 0. So these are the two values of x which makes y 0 in the given equation. So in these two values, which one is greatest? So clearly this is greatest. So the greatest value of x is 55, which cause y to be 0.